It just got real, folks. This entire season, we've been waiting for this Toronto Raptors team to have their full core group of players together. And tonight, we finally got to see it happen. But it did come with a harsh reality because this game was an absolute disaster. Now, I predicted, given the fact that Immanuel Quickley is still recovering from injury, given the fact Barrett is still returning from this illness that he's dealing with, was questionable for tonight's game, all of these excuses that this game could have went poorly in the next few weeks could go poorly, given the fact that we're facing off some brutal, some really intense competition. But it just got real for me, folks, because, again, with all these players out, we could almost put to the side, hey, this team's in a rebuild. They're doing some 4D chess, trying to capture that flag and stuff. This team is way too talented. It's way too good. And yes, I do still think there is a ton of talent out here on this roster. I am very, very bullish on this Raptors young core moving forward to the future and everything in between. But tonight, it just got real for me and a lot of Toronto Raptors fans that there are no more excuses. There's no more BBQ back. We're going to surprise teams, cook teams, do all this type of stuff. No, this team does not need to rest players, have players out of the lineup in order to lose games. Now, I'm hopeful this changes. I'm hopeful when we do have our lineups in play, we're able to be more competitive. We're able to get more wins. We're able to be a better team. But the reality is we are, despite the fact these are young, talented players, this is not me turning on Barrett, Immanuel Quickley, these types of guys, Gradey Dick, which we'll discuss in this video by any stretch of the imagination. But the reality has set in that this season will not be good for the Toronto Raptors, even when the lineups are healthy, even when the full team is back, even when the squad is out here in the mix. So we'll break down the reality of the Toronto Raptors, how things just got real, but some of the things to take away from this core group actually playing together. So lots of stuff to dive into in this video, and a couple of real things that have me a little concerned heading into this year's trade deadline, particularly regarding trade value. There are some of the players who are hoping to net back some draft capital for. But before we dive into that, again, if you guys are part of the 67% of our viewers that haven't hit the subscribe button just yet, make sure you guys hit that sub button because we're delivering daily Toronto Raptors coverage. And we don't want you to miss a single thing happening with this squad, even if the games do start getting ugly like they did here today. Now, the Raptors, they came out with some fight early, but the Bucks, the strategy was just a little bit cooked for the Toronto Raptors this one. Obviously, losing this game to the Milwaukee Bucks 128-104, and you could see it. Some of the starters played decently. Barrett had a nice return game, all of that type of stuff, but the reality is, this team's strategy against the Milwaukee Bucks was not working. It was shades of Nick Nurse. Nick Nurse used to get roasted a ton by Toronto Raptors fans, a ton in regards to when he would try these weird defensive schemes, try these weird approaches, and wouldn't adjust mid-game. Usually Nick Nurse was pretty good at adjusting game by game in playoff series, in these deep playoff runs, but, there were some times where he'd come out with a very unorthodox strategy or something that, and mid-game just wouldn't really switch it up. And tonight, the Toronto Raptors, and you might look at the box score and be like, hey, the Raptors really took care of Giannis in this one. Yes, they did. 5 of 8 shooting, 11 points for Giannis Antetokounmpo, but you can see the 13 assists. Did have 7 turnovers, so you do have to give credit. Darko knew that Giannis would get some turnovers out there and stuff, but the amount of open threes, and yes, there are the guys like Bobby Portis, even guys like Gary Trent Jr., which we'll talk about. The star boy Gary Trent Jr. still have his graphic, his animation, his return to Toronto in this one, but or against Toronto, but basically, the Milwaukee Bucks have had some players regress, had some players take steps back, but giving up open three after open three to the likes of Damian Lillard, to the likes of Brook Lopez, to the likes of Bobby Portis, and again, to the likes of Gary Trent Jr., who we know can shoot the basketball, can do these different things, to Green, to all these types of players that are out here on this Milwaukee Bucks roster. I mean, there's no shot. We were leaving wide open threes. We were throwing the doubles. We were building the ball to Giannis and then just letting them knock down threes, free flowing. And yes, I am still very, very happy with the development, with what Darko Rajaković has done in his second season with the Toronto Raptors, especially with how well players are playing, developing, and filling into their roles. Achieving expectations as individual basketball players. But there are some weird defensive schemes, weird stuff that's happening with this group, which you got to call it out game by game. And the reality is, even if you do run these weird traps, and it's one of the reasons those defensive schemes worked really well during that 2019, during that 2020 run when Nick Nurse was running those types of things. But when the Raptors ran those types of schemes, when you had younger players like Scottie Barnes, Precious Achiuwa as key pieces of the defensive rotation, it's just not going to work as well. They're younger players. They don't have that experience. They don't have that sort of mix. So again, maybe it's a learning experience. You get them the reps so they can have those teaching moments. You can go over film and say, hey, this is a learning moment for this young group to figure out how they could guard Giannis. Because, again, you're going to have to throw doubles at a guy like Giannis Antetokounmpo, Joel Embiid. Maybe not Joel Embiid this season, how bad the Sixers have been. But I digress. Different elite level players come playoff time. So maybe it's fine that they're getting cooked right now in a rebuilding season. And you get the reps, so Darko gets that going. But it is something to take a look at and something to call out because it wasn't great. Wasn't a great situation there right now, but some positives. RJ Barrett returned from his illness and played very solid game. 25 points, 9 rebounds in this one, 5 assists, 1 steal. Good stuff from RJ Barrett. Looked confident attacking the rim. Looked solid. Looked solid out there, especially on the offensive end. Scottie Barnes, again, solidly efficient. Nice block of this one. 21 points, 5 assists, 2 steals, 1 block. Solid stuff. Lots of turnovers, but that is what it is. No 3-point shots there for Scottie. But other than that, nothing really to get too excited about, right? Like Immanuel Quickley, I projected he's going to have a roller coaster receipt, just coming back from injury. That's the reality. What happens, especially for guards, they're going to have hot games, they're going to have cold games when they're not in that rhythm, not in the rhythm of the game. Coming back from an elbow injury as well, UCL. So it's that's going to affect your shot. That's going to affect a lot of things out there on the court. Not too stressed about Immanuel Quickley having a little bit of a roller coaster return since coming back from injury. Jakob Poeltl was solid enough tonight. Again, Brook Lopez made our entire team look cooked. But the one guy that I've seen take a lot of criticism is Gradey Dick, who had 11 points, 3 assists in this one, but didn't start the second half, didn't get the run with the starters. So that was one thing that was a little bit concerning because, again, Gradey Dick has been so good this season that he's been having a little bit of a mid-year slump as of late. It hasn't been horrible, but it is one thing to take a look at. But of course, you also got really nothing off the bench. Jacoby Walter had, in his limited run, his 8 points, 3 of 5 shooting, 2 threes. That's solid, but the rest of the group just wasn't that inspiring. Ochai Agbaji, 2 points, 1 of 5 shooting, 0-4 from the 3-point line. He had such a hot start to the season as a 3-point shooter, but those shots are not going down now at this point. Kelly Olynyk, 3 points, nothing too inspiring. And the one thing that is very concerning to me as, a Raptors fan that's hoping to get some value back for these guys at the trade deadline, especially where we did have reports that Bruce Brown could net us a first-round pick last season. Bruce Brown has not been good this year. That's the reality of what's going on. I think I even have his stats, and they would have gone down now at this point if I still have them up. Are these the right stats? Yeah. Coming into this game, he was averaging 6.7 points per game, 2 rebounds, 1 assist. I mean, now with a 2-point out, 3-point outing, whatever that number just said, for Bruce Brown, 3 points for Bruce Brown in this game. It's going to be hard to net even a bunch of seconds for a guy that's averaging like 5 points per game. That's just kind of the reality of the situation. We're going to need Bruce Brown to have better numbers, better stats in order to able to get some bit of value in return for him, come this year's trade deadline, because he's the guy that's most expected to be traded. I have a video coming out on that tomorrow. Like it's a guy that we need to have his value at a decent place in order to facilitate one of these deals. So that is a bit of an unfortunate thing. And I'm saying in recent videos, I'd like to see Jonathan Mobo get some extra run. I don't know why he's not playing. I do know why he's not playing. You want to give some exposure to Kelly Olynyk, some of the guys that are going to be out here on the trade market. Bruce Brown, Kelly Olynyk, Chris Boucher. Chris Boucher didn't get any run tonight, but I get it, but it sucks for development. Definitely following the trade deadline, which is a month away now at this point. We'd like to see Jonathan Mobo get some extra run, or at least be in the G League, in terms of, to get that run. And of course, Jameson Battle right now is out of the rotation because they can't play him too many minutes because he's on a 2-way. But we'll see how things shake out. But it got real for me. This tank is not something that we're just avoiding with sneaky injuries and stuff. This team is not great. It's not a good team right now, but we will be good for the future. And the league should be fearful for when we get Cooper Flag. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. You guys the best thing as far. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Anyways, I'm signing out. Cheers.